9. If we stop thinking, what do we do about our goals, dreams, and ambitions? There are no limitations to the mind except those we acknowledge. I think, therefore, I suffer. When I finally understood that thinking was the root cause of all my suffering, I was jumping up and down, exhilarate, relieved, and grateful for discovering the truth, reason for everything negative I have experienced in my life. This ecstasy was short lived, though, because soon after the exuberance settled, the next thought popped into my mind. If thinking is the root cause of all my suffering, and I just stopped thinking, how do I live my life now? What about all of my goals, dreams, and ambitions? Do I stop waiting things in life? Will I just de evolve into a couch potato and not do anything with my life anymore? Yes, in case you were wondering, yes, I am telepathic and yes, I can read your mind. Just kidding. But if you are wondering how I wrote the exact or very similar question and I know what thoughts you most likely have right now, it's because I am a human also, contrary to popular beliefs. All of us going through similar journey of awareness, awakening to our true selves. So rest assured that many people are having the exact same thoughts you are having right now as you come to see your true magnificence. Now come back to the question of what we have to do about our goals, dreams, and ambitions if we stop thinking. As I pondered on these questions, an incredible amount of the fear, anxiety began to surface because I thought that I would have to give all of it up and become a monk in the middle of the mountains. I was definitely not ready to do that. As much as I wish were ever that enlightened and detached from my life, I genuinely enjoyed being in the world, experiencing the fullness of life with others. Even if a large portion of my life was filled with suffering, here I have discovered what about to do with our goals and dreams with this new understanding. As we have mentioned in previous chapters, there are difference between thoughts versus thinking. The source of thoughts and the source of thinking are different, and the source is what will detect whether it causes suffering or not. Similarly, where is goal and dreams come from will determine whether we feel great about pursuing of them or not. Like everything in the world, there is nothing inherently good or bad. Only our thinking makes it so. Goals, dreams, and ambitions are not just good or bad. So it's not really an either or situation, but more about where these goals are coming from. There are two sources of goals: goals created out of perception and goals created out of desperation. When goals are created out of desperation, we feel a large sense of scarcity and urgency. It feels heavy, like a burden. We may even feel doubted by colossal tasks we have just committed ourselves to. Imposter syndrome and self-doubt begin to manifest, and we always feel like we never have enough time for anything. We go about our life fractionately, desperately, searching for the answer and ways that we can accomplish our goals faster, always looking externally, never feeling enough or that we can ever get enough. Worst of all, if we happen to accomplish our goals within a few hours or days afterwards, all of these same feelings of lack begin to refuse or resurface. We begin not feeling content with what we have done, unable to savor our accomplishment, and because of that, we didn't never feels like enough. We feel that same way about ourselves, not knowing what else to do. We look around for guidance externally to see what others are doing, and see they are continuing to do the same thing. Thus, we go ahead and proceed to set another goal out of desperation in an attempt to escape all of the negative feelings gaining away at our soul. When we dig a little deeper into these type of goals we set, they are all typically mean goals and not end goals. In other words, the goals we set in the state of desperation all are a mean to an end. There is always a reason we want to accomplish the goals, and it's always for something else. For example, we want to create a multi-millionaire dollar business because we want financial freedom, or we want to quit our job so that we can escape the street and anxiety that comes from us. We feel like we have to do these things instead of want to. Goals created from desperation are typically realistic and created from analyzing our past and what we think to be possible in the moment. It feels very confining and limiting. Although these type of goals and dreams may excite us in the moment, as soon as we begin to try to create it, we feel a lack and we are desperate to bring the dream of life. Paradoxically, if we do end up achieving a goal created out of desperation, we end up feeling even more empty than we did it before. The next logical thing we tend to do is to set an even bigger goal out of even greater desperation to helpfully make us full whole inside. This is how most of us set our goals and how we live our lives. I am not so also saying this to criticize or judging it all, but to reveal the reality of it. The only reason why I was able to describe it in painful and excruciating details was because that was my life. Here is the good news. It's not your fault that you set a goals that you have does in that way, and there is a way out. It's through creating goals and dreams out of inspiration instead is desperation. Or we can say it's through creating goals and dreams out of inspiration instead of desperation. When we create goals out of inspiration versus desperation, it is a completely different story. In this state, we are creating because we feel deeply moved, inspired, and expansive. It feels like a calling rather than an obligation. It is like there is a powerful force of life coming from within us, wanting to be expressed through us to be made, manifesting into the physical world. This is why painters paint always, dancers dance, and why writers write and why singers sing. Even if they are not get paid for their work or for their living from it, we feel pulled by a force to create something. We gravitate towards it. We feel compelled to it when we feel like this. We are creating from a place of abundance instead of lack. Most surprising of all it is in this state we are creating not for any reason at all other than because we simply want to. We don't create because we feel like we have to. We create because we simply want to, and there is no other reason. We are not creating these goals so that we can do something else or use it as a means of get something else we want. This creating comes from place of fullness and abundance. It is an overflowing of love and joy for life. This is the reason why most of us want to have kid, or it's not so that we can milk our kids for their money once they are old enough to work and hopefully use them as a retirement plan. We want to have kid because we want to share the abundance of what we have with them, and it comes from a place of sharing what we have lots of versus trying to get something out of them. This feeling of deep inspire is incredibly difficult to describe because it does not come from this world. It really doesn't come from us, but through us, from something greater than us. I like to call this feeling divine inspiration because this idea and vision we have of what we want to create seems to be far bigger than we could have possibly imagined or come up with ourselves. Since divine inspiration doesn't come from us but from something greater, it doesn't analyze or rely on past data or what you or anyone in the world has already accomplished. Divine inspiration is what happened when groundbreaking creation and inventions are created that seemed to be impossible not too long ago. It known no boundaries, limits, or constraints. It is an incredible expansive force that energizes and lifts us, making us feel like we are high on life. In this state, we feel whole, complete, filled with unconditional love, joy, and peace. We don't analyze, compare, criticize, judge, or rationalize anything, but instead we truly live, love, share, give, create, grow, and nourish. It really in one of the greatest feeling we can experience, and it is truly a gift that we can share the divine as human. And it is because we are from the same source. Even has experienced that the deep feeling and desire to create something marvelous in the world that's out of pure inspiration and not for desperation. Before moving on to the next paragraph, I encourage you to test this theory. Pause here and spend a few minutes thinking about times in your life where you felt an overwhelming feeling and desire to create something magnificent because you felt deeply inspired and called to. It doesn't matter if you actually created it or not, but just think of at a time where you felt that feeling to create out of inspiration. Is not that just one of the most amazing feeling in the entire world? Most of us leave this divine inspiration, but then suppress it as soon as we begin thinking about doing it. We begin to think ourselves into doubt, rationalize why we can't do it, tell ourselves that it is unrealistic, how we should focus on more important things and that are not good enough to do it. As soon as we begin to think about the thoughts of us wanting to create, it completely shuts off and shows off the at inspiration, and we go back to our living life as usual. When we cut off that source, we also feel cut off the feelings of abundance, exuberance, ecstasy, joy, pure unconditional love, and go back to the feeling of doubt, anxiety, frustration, sadness, and feel confined, struck, frustrated with our lives. We can only follow one calling at a time, either inspiration or desperation, in the present moment. The two cannot coexist at the same time, but we can fluctuate between the two depending on how much thinking is going on. When we stop thinking, we don't stop having goals and dreams. We actually fall back into our true nature and begin to create goals and dreams out of inspiration versus desperation. We begin to allow thoughts from the universe to come into our mind and lead to us to divine inspiration to create something that has never been created before it in the world. When we follow divine inspirations, we feel alive, whole, joy, love, peace, and fulfillment. So, how can you tell when a goal or dream is created out of inspiration or desperation? A simple way to know if a goal or dream is created out of inspiration is to remember the distinction between thoughts and thinking. Goals and dreams that come in the form of thought are created out of inspiration. Goals and dreams that are from thinking are created out of desperation. Typically, when we think, we will analyze, judge, criticize, rationalize, and use our past to try to create our new goals, but this time this form of creating goals feel extremely restricting and limiting. We don't typically feel good when we create these type of goals, and when we are pursuing them we do not feel great either, since it is all out of desperation. Another way to identify the two is to sense how you feel energetically. Goals and dreams created out of desperation will feel very heavy, draining, confining, and empathy. We tend to feel a very lot of scarcity, fear, stress, like have to do it or that we are by obligate to. With these type of goals, it seems like if we don't accomplish it, that there will be dire consequences. Hence, the high pressure and struck. I am sure you can see now how this can create the feeling of desperation. Moreover, we feel like we are trying to accomplish these goals to escape our current situation and get out of something. Our goals created in this state are typically mean goals, and meaning that we want to achieve these goals so that we can do something else afterwards, such as having the goals to quit our job. Most likely you will have this goal because you want to go to do something or actually enjoy, but you can see how the goal of quitting your job is just a main goal for you to go to do something else. Or having a goal of making 1 million is typically set because you want to have financial freedom and go to travel the world. These goals are always a mean to an end, and not then end itself. There is always a reason that we want to accomplish these goals, and it makes us feel very empty inside. I want to emphasize that none of these goals are inherently bad, or that we shouldn't have goals or wanting to make money or quitting our jobs. If these goals are created from inspiration, that is completely different. It just depends on the source of the goal and not necessarily the goal itself. This is an important distinction to make, otherwise, you will spend most of your time debating and stressing yourself and out of over if this is the right goal for you or not. There is no right or wrong goal, only goals created out of inspiration or desperation. It is depend on how you want to feel inside, and when you are aware of these two type of goals and how they manifest, then you will be able to feel blissful and as you go about creating amazing thing in your life. On the other hand, goals and dreams created out of inspiration, which come from thought, feel very light, energizing, uplifting, expansive. We tend to feel excited, joyful, most importantly inspired. We don't feel like we have to create it, but we want to. Of instead of feeling like you need to do this, you feel inspired too. There is virtually no pressure because we are not trying to get out of something or escape our current situation by accomplishing this goal. There is no scarcity or urgency because we don't feel like we are creating from a place of lack, but instead from a place of abundance. We just want to share it from the world. Since it is coming from the inspiration, we are not doing it to get something out of it, so that will or that can do something else. It is not a mean goal, but simply an end in and of itself. There is no reason we need to create it. We are not creating so that we can feel whole, but we are creating because we feel whole and want to give from that place, not expecting anything from it. I am sure you can see the stark difference between the two, and now that you can tell which type of goal currently fall under. If most of your goals fall under the category of desperation, don't worry, because of most of goals created from desperation included myself before I knew a better way. So how we create goals and dreams out of inspiration versus desperation. Creating goals and dreams from divine inspiration isn't something you have to try to do. We naturally have thoughts to infinite inspiration all the time. If you look at children, they naturally have the wildest dream and imagination of what they want to do. It almost doesn't ever register in their minds that they are can't do something most of the time. The only difference between us and children is that we have learned to shut down all these thoughts of inspiration, which contain our dreams, hopes, goals, and we truly wants to see manifested in the world. Our mind are filled with the reason of why we cannot then thoughts of what we want to create. We innately have an infinite flow of inspiration that comes through us. But we back to the but we block that flow as soon as we begin think about the thoughts and have which cause self-doubt, self-stopping, and anxiety. Think of all the flow of inspiration to create like a river. The river always flow until man puts something there is to block it, like a dam. Then when the dam is there, we ask why there are so many fishes dying, animals disappearing, and forests dwelling. Then we all need to do is to return the river back to its natural state, and everything will be working peacefully, perfectly fine, and the way nature intend to it. This is the same for our mind and our goals. We always dream, have big goals, and know what to do at all time. When you were tapped into our inner wisdom and inner intelligence, free from thinking, if we simply do not think about our thoughts and short of thoughts about goals, dreams, and desires, and naturally arises are all from the divine, and that is how to create your goal out of inspiration versus desperation. A question that greatly helped me to settle the thinking and tap into the limitless well of possibilities of what I could create is. If I had infinite money, already traveled the world, had no fear, and didn't receive any recognition for what I do, what would I do or what would I create? Whenever we ask questions, answers always arise. It is impossible for our brain to hear a question and not come up with the response. So, when you ask yourself this question, whatever begins to come up for you without any manual thinking will be from the divine. And from inspiration versus desperation. The way this question is worded is extremely important because it removes most of the thinking, fear, criticism, and external reasons of why you would want to do something. So it focuses your answer on what you truly want to create. Usually it is for a reason, for no reason other than you just wanting to create it because it's fun without any influence from the material world, trying, asking, and question and seeing what come up for you. You will be surprised at what surface, but don't get caught up with your thinking when those true dreams of yours begin to be revealed to you. To a mind without the limit of thinking, anything is possible. Try to listen it once more with carefully. To a mind without the limits of thinking, anything is possible.